Tale of a true miracle, a horrible tragedy in Africa, the fate of three Siouxlanders on a mission, and three miracle kids who brought two countries together. In Tanzania, May 2017, a bus carrying two teachers and 35 seventh graders crashed, sending the bus into a ravine, killing almost everyone on board. Moments after the crash, missionaries from Siouxland, Tanzania Educational Medical Ministry, also known as STEM, were traveling in that same area and came up on the crash site. Three medical professionals from Sioux City were among that group. They responded quickly and discovered three children were still alive, but seriously wounded. The miracle kids, then 13-year-old Doreen and then 12-year-old Sadia and Wilson, were rushed to a Tanzania medical center. But the care they needed was too much for doctors there. Within days, STEM organizers, Mercy One Doctors, and other organizations came together to bring the three children to Sioux City for life-saving treatment they needed. For months, the three miracle kids underwent surgeries and rehabilitation in Sioux City before returning home to Tanzania. Their journey inspired a countless number of people, countries apart. 8 years later, STEM continues its work in Tanzania. The Siouxland Tanzania Educational Medical Ministry is a Christian organization that works to bring better care to people in Tanzania. KTV's Katie Koppel has more on the continued work and STEM's new mission.
8 years later, after that tragic bus crash and a series of miracles, there are efforts to bring the miracle kids' story to life once again, this time globally. On a recent trip, STEM founder Dr. Steve Meyer met with Tanzanian officials about an exciting new project. An incredible story of survival and God's work to make miracles happen.
So it was an absolute series of miracles after miracles.
Now, 8 years later,
there is great traction underway to make a major motion picture about the Miracle Kids story.
Dr. Steve Meyer, one of the founders of STEM, met with producers who spent several days in Siouxland last fall interviewing those integral to the story.
In January, we went to Tanzania, and we had a beautiful audience for a whole hour with the president of Tanzania, who at the time of the accident was the vice president, who was really profoundly instrumental in bringing these kids back to America.
This movie about miracles, with a goal to start a worldwide movement.
And called this the Miracle Movement, inspiring people to walk in faith and to engage other people under difficult circumstances.
Dr. Meyer and STEM Executive Director Dwight Freiberg say while the story itself is a tribute to the work of the Lord, the three survivors, the miracle kids, have a chance to make real change in their home country of Tanzania.
They have a real possibility to make a huge impact in that country.
While this movie will highlight the work of STEM and the story of the children, it's still a tragedy that impacted so many. 32 children and 3 adults died in the bus crash that Doreen, Wilson, and Sadia miraculously survived.
32 kids that were, some of whom were friends with them, that passed.
A tragedy thousands of miles away that brought 3 kids and of movement to life in Sioux City, Iowa.
And to look at the fact that we've crossed so many barriers that typically keep us apart, different country, different color, different creed, different religion.
Doreen, Wilson, and Sadia are thriving today, taking their life story and making a difference.
As a result of this tragedy, there were significant decisions and resources put toward improving healthcare in Tanzania.
And miracles can happen.
Nothing is impossible if we believe.
In Sioux City, Katie Koppel, KTIV News 4.
And the hope is the screenplay and casting will be completed in the coming months, and the movie will be completed by the end of 2026. So the 3 kids, Doreen, Wilson, and Sadia, are now back in Sioux City, work on their college degrees. And the 3 moved back to Sioux City in 2021 to attend Western Iowa Tech Community College. Doreen is studying video and audio production, while Sadia and Wilson are taking general study courses with a plan to major in business. The students lived with STEM Executive Director Dwight Freiberg and his wife when they first started classes at WIT.
Western Iowa Tech right now, they're in their finishing up their 2nd year there, and then beyond that we have hopes that maybe they will transition to a 4-year college and get a degree here and then likely go back to Tanzania.
And they say their hope is the three will finish their 4-year degrees in Sioux City. Well, if you would like to help in STEM's mission to Tanzania, there are several ways you can get involved. You can visit their website to donate directly to the cause. You can also volunteer with STEM, both here in Siouxland and in Tanzania. Details are online right now at ktiv.com.